stuff to do, so we might as well get going.
Yeah, we have a quorum. You're good to go.
Okay. Call meeting order 5:20. Sherry, want to start us out? Roll call.
Hunter present.
Keekwan present.
Gunning present.
Chaudhary present.
Coin present. Byers present.
And how's the agenda looking tonight, everybody?
Looks fine.
I would like to make an addition onto the agenda. Let's see. It would be just a general discussion, and it would be on the bench and waste receptacle project on Pickard.
Let's add that to pending business. Talk about the bench
Yep.
program.
Okay.
Any other additions? Hearing none, can we get a motion to approve the agenda tonight?
So moved.
Bars,
We get a
support by
motion second.
Coin.
All right. You guys are in the minutes now.
All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Moving on to the approval of regular meeting minutes from October 16th, 2018. Second page in your packet.
Making a motion to approve the minutes.
Again, second.
Motion by
Second.
Ed, support by Chowdhury, to approve the meeting minutes of October 16th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. The meeting minutes are approved. Item number 5, public comment. Seeing nobody here in the galley. Move on to reports. Accounts payable, you wanna walk us through there, Mark?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Podium up today.
Wow.
Wow.
That's what I
Yeah,
was thinking.
this is a new addition. I don't know, it's been here maybe a month,
It's good.
shortly after the last EDA board meeting, but we thought it would make some sense for the folks such as me or citizens speaking to any of our boards, Planning Commission, EDA, Board of Trustees. So hopefully it works out okay for everybody. Regarding the report section of your agenda, we have the accounts payable approval. We just have approvals for the East EDA tonight. It's on page 4 of your agenda packet, and I'll just run through them real quick. There's $624.72 due to Consumers Energy for the monthly billings. Block Electric and accounts payable of $2,560 for the installation of what I'll describe as a more robust lighting system for the gateway banners. They'd had those lights out there were in need of repair to the electrical system. If memory serves, there was a surge or something and it took out the lights, and Block recommended upgrading a bit. So
Where's Gateway?
it's just that there's 4 tall banners just east of 127 on Pickard Road.
Is that where it enters into the township? Is that
Mhm.
what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Gateway.
And so there's a invoice to Block Electric for that. There's an invoice to Goodrow and Associates for the work they did and are doing on Jameson Hall, and the planning for those improvements, $2,668. Invoice to MMI for the normal Pickard sidewalk area servicing, cleaning for the October services. Pleasant Time, $3,500 for the August time period, flower basket maintenance. And then Teelan Turf for $850 for winterization of the irrigation system. So that's all shut down, ready for the winter. Hometown decorations, per the budget, and the service agreement, $10,800 for the holiday light decoration installation. If you haven't been down through there in the last couple weeks, those new lighting ornaments are up. I think it looks
beautiful.
very nice. So good job on that. Total accounts payable run for the EDA is, for the East EDA, is $21,420.97. That would need your approval so those checks can go out.
Questions, comments?
Well, I think the decorations are beautiful. They're really nice, so glad that we did that.
Yeah, I think it looks really nice.
Good timing too.
Yeah.
It's a great Black Friday week. For me, I
Yes.
thought, wow, they're
More
already
money
on,
spent
they're already
in Mount
putting up,
Pleasant.
but then now already they got the shopping, so I think it's good, worked out good.
And,
great.
I think they went up last week sometime, in addition to, of course, you all approving the contract and the upgrade. I will acknowledge and thank Amy Peak, who has done a lot of the behind-the-scenes work and monitored the vendor to get those up.
Good job, Amy.
So the lights on the gateway banner, those are the canned up lights? That
Yes.
splash? I think those have been down a while, haven't they? Because I don't remember them being on in a long time.
Well,
They're on the west
I
side
don't
of
think-
27, right on 27. They're on the west side.
Over east side.
It's on the east side of 27.
Oh.
It's
And
right across from McDonald's, I
Oh.
think, isn't
Is
it?
it
Right
right
in
by
the
the
water.
expressway?
Right by the water park?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
one,
Right by the
and
water
then-
park.
and then there's one kind of by the,
Mike Hotel?
yes.
so they're
check
actually on
those
both
out.
sides.
Yeah.
They're nice, they're the big, they're big
They're
wood.
they're on
Yeah.
either side of the
Big
highway.
wood.
Only been out there once.
Yeah, I think Phil Schaefer,
Just
yeah,
in the back,
Phil
but it's
Schaefer, I think, built
daytime.
They're
those.
vertical banners that are
Mhm.
probably 10 feet tall.
Right.
And we've had to replace a banner or two since I've been here. And I know some of the lighting has worked, at least in the last couple of years, but it was reported and confirmed that at least in one of those displays, the lighting was out. There was a surge of some sort that took out the electrical infrastructure in that area. And
No, glad you guys fixed it. Good. Any more comments? I get a motion to approve payables?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Coin.
I can say.
Support by Chowdhury to approve the East EDA check register.
Thank you. There are no accounts payables for the West DDA or the West DDA General Obligation Fund for this month. So we'll just move on to the financial reports.
You just need to
Hold on, let me finish.
We
the
still
vote.
have to vote.
Oh,
Hold on.
sorry.
Let's get out the
All
door
in
here.
favor, say aye.
Aye. Okay, now you can go ahead.
Opposed? Say, okay, motion carried. Okay, now you can go ahead.
And so moving on to the financial reports, budget to actual, they begin on page 5 of your agenda packet with the report for the East DDA. On the revenue side, the material change from the October report is the $55,000 of state shared revenue. We received that. The budget was $50,000, and this is the normal time of year we received that. On the expenditure side, there was just the normal incremental increase. I'll describe it as of the budgeted operating expenses. The changes from the October report had to do directly with the accounts payable that you approved just a few minutes ago for the East DDA. I will note that we've been in contact again, maybe I mentioned this last month, with Wilson Lawn Care. We have not received an invoice from them since July. So It helps us
We
if we,
just tell them that we have like a 4 or 5 month waiver after that.
well, that's
Don't
what I
pay.
like.
They don't pay.
Don't pay
It's amazing how many vendors don't bill timely. From our perspective, we'd like to receive them as soon as possible, get them paid, and then that helps our reporting look normal. But I have been in contact with principals there, and they're getting that rectified. So that's all I had on the East EDA. Is there are any questions before I move on to the West? I'll pause for a moment. Hearing none. Both the West EDA, which that report begins on page 7, or is on page 7 of your agenda packet, and the West EDA General Obligation Fund report, which is on page 8 of your packet, there are, I don't believe, any changes from the prior month's report. So I have nothing new to add to that for this month. So that kind of covers the budget to actual reports. Again, I'll just pause if there's any questions before moving on to the balance sheets. The balance sheet reports start for the East DDA. They're on page 9 of your packet. The East DDA fund balance is approximately $1,285,000. That's essentially all cash. We've been drawing that down a bit over the year for the budgeted projects. That was a planned drawdown. Although if you look at it compared to October, it increased by about $45,000, primarily due to the receipt of the state shared revenue that I mentioned a moment ago. The West EDA fund balance or balance sheet's on page 10. That fund balance is $1,007,000. No material change from the prior month. Almost all of it's in the form of cash. And again, we've seen over the course of the year the same kind of thing happening, the planned drawdown of that as we've been doing some of the projects in the respective DDA districts. And then finally, the West DDA General Obligation Fund, $700 approximate fund balance. That fund will be closed out at the conclusion of the audit, the year-end audit.
Are we doing Lincoln off the West DDA fund?
Yes.
But we haven't accrued a bill on that, because is that because we probably haven't got the bids and everything in, or? are they-
Correct. We have, and I'd have to go back to look specifically. The plan is for the West EDA to participate first in the Lincoln Road improvement south of the bridge to Broomfield.
Yes.
And I don't believe there's been any participation agreements executed for that yet, but they're getting close. That work is scheduled to begin and be done in 2019. And in fact, now that I'm thinking about it, it was part of the West EDA budget that you all approved for 19 funding for that project, and the source is the existing fund balance.
I for some reason, I thought everything was gonna be completed, not completed, but ready to go in the fall of 18 to be completed in 2019, but they don't have the.
There was some talk of that. They didn't get around to being able to get that executed. And that was just for the south of the bridge work. The north of the bridge work, while still a plan, is much further away from coming together. They're still seeking funding for that. I don't anticipate any work being done on that before 2021, actually. You might hear 2020, but I doubt it at this point. So that's it on the financial reports. unless you all have any questions. Other reports in your packet, the normal board member expiration matrix. That's in your packet every month. It just lets you know the expiration dates of all the boards in the township. The EDA is listed on page 13. Do have a member's term expiring in January of 19, which is not too far away. Mr. Bacon, we do have an application on file from him expressing an interest in being renominated to this body, as well as the planning commission. He put down two boards. And then all this is still under reports. There's 3 reports as it relates to the water and sewer projects going on in the respective DDAs that begin on page 14 of your agenda packet. There's a report for the water main loop. Construction on that began the week of October 22nd. That's scheduled to be done prior to year end. It's I describe it as on schedule and on budget at this point. There's some additional comments and detail in the report in your packet. Pump station number 1 report, those plans and specifications are to be submitted to MDEQ for their review this month. Maybe they've already gone in. The construction on this was not or is not scheduled to start before the spring of 19, and that's been the plan all along. And then the pump station number 14 project, we're still waiting on some MDEQ permit approvals that we had submitted back in August of 2018. We hope to be able to get this project out to bid yet this year, although we do need final approvals from MDEQ before we can do that. And then construction would start probably in the spring then of 19 at this point. I'll attempt to answer any questions you have on those 3 projects, or more likely get back to you if they're too technical in nature. And then on page 17, the last page of your agenda packet, the authority last month asked for a report comparing the contract amounts of the various projects to the final build amounts for the various projects. So that's the information that's in the matrix on page 17. I listed the original project plan estimates that we received back in February of 18 from the Road Commission. We used those amounts to develop the, I'll call it the original budget for these projects. And then when we executed the participation agreements in the summer of 18, you'll recall the discussion of how all the pricing had gone up, and we amended the budget to comport with that. Contract participation agreements totaled $160,000 for all these projects. Once all the final invoices have come in, the actual expense was $107,000 and some change. So if you look at it from a perspective of the participation agreements and the amended budget compared to the final expenses, there was a positive amended budget variance of almost $54,000. If you look at it from the original budget to the final contract amounts, The positive variance was closer to $20,000. And I just point this out because I think this was these are big swings in my mind. Sometimes I use the term whipsawed. They were pretty big, I thought.
Yeah.
And
I'm just curious, the road commission contract, this is what they estimated, they actually figured it'd cost that much money to do it, but they were off so far. I mean, they were off like $54,000 from what they anticipated. That seems really wide for a contractor to be off that.
The greater question is, do we get the 53.7 back?
we only paid 107.
We paid 107.
Right. We signed participation
Okay, so we
agreements
already, gotcha.
for 160, but only paid 107.
Does the county bid these based on the worst possible scenario or something, and then,
You know, I don't know. That there was, you know, a lot of talk along the way of, you know, whether or not the projects were going to be able to get done. Maybe there was some pricing in anticipation of really having to press a contractor to get it done. I don't know. But it does lead me to, and I have a couple comments that I usually make at this time, one of which is, at the last month's meeting, I had mentioned to the board that we were going to have representatives from the road commission at the meeting this month to speak about the 18 projects and to kind of talk about the Lincoln Road. And we contacted them to ask them to come to the meeting tonight. The answer that we got back was, I'll just say, less than satisfactory. And so I'm continuing to talk to them to try to get them to come in December.
But anybody from Union Township go to those meetings with the commission board?
Yes, we have 2 attendees. We have a board of trustee representative that's been appointed as the liaison with the road commission. Trustee Hauk, he attends most of those meetings. And then from an administrative level, the director of public services, Kim Smith, attends, I think, at least the monthly evening meeting. She might attend the monthly morning meeting as well. So we have presence at all.
So they have part of discussion with you guys, share something what is happening there, time to time?
We work on communicating well with them. Their style is a little more informal than ours, so we have to work through that a little bit. But we're working on getting that communication improved, because I think it could be improved. So, Mr. Bars, a lot of the answers to your questions, I was hopeful that they'd be here tonight to answer those, but they're not.
might be best if
Yeah, because
Jim
there's a
Zalad is here, so Jim, I mean, you know, when they come, but he
so
probably
there's a
don't.
big gap you see, I mean, 53,000 gap.
It is, so it makes planning a little more difficult, and budgeting a little more difficult, but at the end of the day, we're only paying for what
Yeah,
they paid for.
So,
I'm not complaining, but
That was
Yeah,
my
we
question a
complain.
month ago.
I'm just
To make sure we weren't paying 160,000.
No,
We got
no.
107,000 and
You've approved
Delivery.
invoices for $107,000. So I wanted to mention that in terms of their representation of being able to report out tonight. I mentioned already the winterization of the irrigation system's done. I mentioned the holiday lights. You may recall we've been trying to get a light pole replaced that was taken out last February in a car accident near the Shell station down on Pickard, and we've continued to struggle getting that replaced. Every time we follow up with them, there's delays on getting the pole made and whatnot. And then we were, I think it was maybe the 3rd week in October, notified. That was when we were supposed to get it, you know, the most recent time frame, or have it delivered. And we were notified that it's not likely to be delivered till at the time, November 12th. I haven't heard anything back to see if it actually came in on the 12th, but.
So who is paying for that? Who is paying for those poles?
We put in an insurance claim,
Okay,
and so that's paying for at least part of it. But the EDA owns the pole.
We put an insurance claim in with their insurance company against, it wouldn't be our insurance, right?
No, but we submitted a claim
To the insurance company.
through our company, and they are working with
Yeah.
the cars company to.
Yeah, okay.
so how long that has been going on?
Well, that accident occurred in February of 18, last winter. The pole's been removed, it was laying on the ground, and we've secured the base. And so we put in an order last spring for the new pole, and we have Block Electric helping us facilitating that order. The order's been placed for months. They've had various reasons why it hasn't been manufactured yet. It's a single pole we're asking them to manufacture, probably out of a cast that, you know, they had from the original order. And there, a couple times there's been different machining parts. One had to do with the arm component. The machine broke down or something. They had to get that fixed. But I just mentioned that it's an item outstanding that we continue to bird dog. And
But 10 months is a long period. You see, is it affecting any traffic or anything due to
I
the
would say
lack of
not.
that poles?
no, it's not a safety issue.
10 months is a long period to replace.
I'm sorry?
I said 10 months is a long period if that happened in February.
Yeah,
December is
and
coming.
that's why I keep mentioning it, so I don't forget about it.
Those poles you just.
And then you guys don't
they're not
forget
in
about it.
stock. They have to make, they probably have to make the pole.
Yeah, they had to manufacture the
Yeah.
pole.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a
they went
specialty
up years
item.
ago.
We just have one pole, so they probably send
Yeah.
with a bunch of other
Yeah,
ones somewhere
yeah.
else.
Right, I mean, this would be down low on their production
Yeah,
list,
you know.
priority, but I'm confident it'll get done. And then the last thing I was gonna report, and then I noticed there was an amendment to the agenda, but I will just say, because we had asked for monthly progress reports from Mr. Culver on the bench and receptacle work, and so he reported out to us, I think it was last week, might have been the week before, that all the benches had been removed, so those are all back at his shop, having the work done to them. That'll occur over the winter, I imagine. The plan is for them to be reinstalled by April. That's the contract, April of 19. And he's been out trying to remove the trash receptacles, and he indicated those are proving a bit more challenging. The anchor bolts are spinning in the concrete, so he described a need to go to Plan B, which he said he'd be out doing this week, I believe is what he said, maybe next week. He made no mention of a change order or anything at this point, so just want to let you know that from what we know, the work is progressing. A couple challenges that I wouldn't suggest are out of the ordinary, and that's where we are with that. So that's all I have, unless anybody has any other questions.
That cover everything you were gonna talk about?
No.
Go ahead.
Okay, move over to the pending business.
Thank you.
Okay. The bench and waste, I called Mr. Culver up, asked how everything was going. I noticed all the benches were gone. He had said that several of the benches, and this is something that I guess maybe we should discuss, and whether there's something that can be done maybe with the business owners. I think the business owners are responsible to clear their sidewalks on Pickard Street, or is that done by the township, or is that done by the county, the state? How does that?
We pay for it, but EDA. That's
Does
what-
EDA pay for the sidewalks to be cleared?
Yep. the
Some of
same-
them.
Well, there's a couple different players involved. MMI does some cleaning to the immediate area of the park benches and trash receptacles. the name's escaping me, but then another vendor does the snow plowing of the sidewalk all along Pickard, so they're doing some maintenance in the area.
Okay.
Of course, we have a Wilson Lawn Care that does the lawn care along Pickard, all of which are in the vicinity of all of the park benches. So we have a variety of players that are in and near those park benches. Pleasant time with the flowers.
What he had mentioned to me is that there were a few of the benches that had been hit with snowplows. And so the cast ends on a few of the benches were broken from whoever was doing snowplowing. So I wasn't sure on our end, you know, if we're gonna have these things redone and we're gonna have to buy some replacement pieces, then is there a way that we can monitor? I mean, they should have, I would assume whoever's clearing it should have some general liability when they run into.
But then those people who are like removing the snow, they have the contract or something, we are paying them, they are responsible for that if that thing happens.
That's what I would think. And so obviously, when did it happen?
Yeah, who
I don't
knows?
think we monitored it closely enough to say if it happened in, you know, 17, 16, 15 or whenever, right?
So they are supposed to report that, if this thing happened or something, or you have any supervisor who goes up off and on and
And
look
see,
at it?
I like I said, I don't know if we really monitored that closely. But that was something that was brought up to me is there was a few of them that had been hit with a snowplow and the cast ends had been broken. That was number one. Number two, there was one of the benches, I think, in front of that Fast Finance car place where apparently somebody had gone in and just simply stole the bench because it wasn't there. There was the bolts were still there, but there was no bench, and so we're, I think, short one of the benches. But and again, you know, you look at that, and some of them had, from what I understand, they're going to have to cut the anchors out and put new anchors in. So, you know, do you buy benches to replace the ones that are, you know, stolen or broken? Some of those had two benches, some of them had one, or do we look at it and say, well, they're not used that much anyway, and is there really a need to have two benches in some of those areas, or would one bench suffice, right? So moving forward, I think that's going to be a question that we're going to need to ask ourselves, is whether we want to, you know, because the single benches are, if I remember correctly, when I called up that company, are really expensive.
I think you should make somebody from the Union Township, like Peter or somebody, inspector, so they should at least visit once a month and look at, I mean, while going there and see.
Or even, you know, after the winter season is over with, you know, to
Or
check
even-
them out.
Even make responsible those guys too, when they notice if somebody else hit the guys who are cleaning that, we are paying to them, they are supposed to report to you guys here, inform you if this thing happened, we didn't do it, or somebody else did it. So some kind of a, you see, arrangement should be there,
Yeah.
or to keep an eye on those things.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be worthwhile, I think, and that's something I just brought up for discussion as we
Yeah,
move
that's-
forward, is that if we're gonna invest all this money into this, then, you know, we should, there should be some general liability, I would think, with whoever's doing the snow removal to
Yeah.
not run into a bench and break it, you know, so.
Yeah, we are paying them and they have
Yeah,
insurances. I mean,
exactly.
Those people.
Exactly. So I did want to bring that up and did mention that I know that, you know, maybe do we want to reconfigure those areas? I mean,
Reconfigure
like
Yeah,
where we have like two
missing
benches to one to consolidate, or do you spend the $2,000 or $3,000 to buy another bench to replace the one that's gone? I mean, I don't see that there's that great of a use out there to be doing that anyway.
I've never seen anybody sit in them, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the point is, if you got two benches, one place nobody's sitting in, you got an empty spot, you can always swap one over.
Yeah.
Or put one in inventory, I
Yeah.
don't know what you do.
Yeah. I think that's.
I don't think I'd put a lot of work into, you know, replacing the slats and stuff now,
Mhm.
we're getting them done, getting them cleaned up. To me, I wouldn't do much more than that, because I just don't think that bears the use.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And
Yeah.
then we can track, and if we see a couple of them next year, after next year's snow, they get all banged up, then we talk to the plow guy.
That's
Mhm.
also when we renew contracts or we
Let 'em
guys
know.
hand
Yeah.
checks.
Yeah,
It's like,
put
'cause
in
that could be,
contract.
that could be the snowplow guy, could be the
Yeah.
lawn guy, is that on big
right.
machinery too.
Right.
Yeah,
Could be,
Or
they're out
just
there, could be
vehicular.
anybody.
yeah.
Or some of the landowners park their
Yeah.
sales equipment right out there too. It's hard saying.
There's a lot of construction equipment that
Yeah.
runs up and down
Yeah.
that sidewalk with all the commercial development.
Just, maybe just a reminder when you do the contracts, to just say that, just, it puts it in there,
That's your part.
and then that's
so,
it,
yeah.
because it could be anybody, you can't just blame the snowplow guy.
Yeah.
I've been blamed for stuff, and there was a construction right there, and I didn't even have a truck there that day, so we went back on the construction.
I made a note and what I've been wanting to do, and I haven't got around to it yet, is get all our contractors / vendors that are involved on Long Pickard, snowplow, grass cut, Pleasant Time,
Yeah,
get all those, Teelan, get all of them in the same room, and so they all can understand what each other's doing, what the various components are that we have. The irrigation lines are often getting cut, just because of normal construction work, if nothing else. And sometimes it's the lawnmower that's taken off the head of the sprinkler and those kinds of things. So encouraging all of them to be more observant of things beyond just what they're doing in that immediate
or
minute.
when they draw the permit for construction, you see, those guys who are construction workers.
Yeah,
they do
they're gonna be
development in that
permitted, but-
area, so make sure to mention.
You're
in
taking
there.
out a driveway approach,
Yeah.
the last thing you're thinking about
So
is.
mention in their contract, you see, too.
But
when they
The
take-
irrigation repairs get reported to us pretty quickly because people see running water. The bench, if there was a bench missing, nobody's reported that to us. If there was something knocked off the bench from due to some reason, and it made it unstable or something, that wasn't reported to us either. Whatever the cast ends you're talking about, but all of the vendors do have liability. So if there is, if we're able to attach responsibility to somebody, we would certainly do that.
I mean, in my eyes, in the big scheme of things, I mean, they've been there for years and we haven't done anything. So now we are fixing them up, which is grand. I mean, I would just assume just stay the course. If there was 2 benches there, let's replace the bench. Half of that isn't so much functionality, it's aesthetics. The last thing I wanna see is over the next 3 years, oh, that one's broke, let's not put it in. Now it's gonna look,
Bad.
yeah. It's like, now why aren't these, how come none of these benches are missing? It's just gonna look silly.
And then you got one of those benches down at the end of Mid-Michigan College, that's the last bench, there's nothing out there. I mean, there's one right in front of it, then there's one way at the very end, that's a spare as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, maybe something like that, that
Yeah,
could
that
be
was-
used.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
You can move
Yeah.
it anywhere, yeah. And I can't remember, on that printout that I sent you a Excel spreadsheet,
Yeah.
it gave you the location of each one, was there one there at Fast Finance when we did that? A
No,
year and a half ago.
I think that's where, when he was going through, no, I don't think so.
So it's been gone for a while.
It's been gone for a while, yeah. There's still the studs sticking out of the sidewalk, but there was, this will make a nice bench.
Okay.
any more comments on that subject matter? Hearing none, I guess we can call this adjourned. 5:59, next meeting, December 18th. Thank you very much.
December 18th,
I won't be here.
that's gonna be, let me take a